The Isle of Avalon was the greatest mystery of all. No one knew where Arthur's last resting place actually was.
I think most contemporary scholars would doubt that in historical terms there ever was an Avalon.
But in 1191, 600 years after Arthur's death, the monks of Glastonbury Abbey in the west of England made a stunning discovery. They found King Arthur's grave.
This must have been one of the most celebrated discoveries, well, was the most celebrated discovery of the Middle Ages.
The grave contained a lead cross, identifying the bones as King Arthur's.
When they came to look at the inscription on the lead cross, they read it as saying, "Here lies buried the famous King Arthur in the Isle of Avalon."
The monks of Glastonbury believed their own abbey was Avalon itself. The mystery of King Arthur's death seemed to be solved.
There really was a King Arthur. We've got his tomb exactly in the same way as we've got the tombs of other famous kings.
But for modern historians, it was impossible to tell whether the monk's story was true. Because in 1539, Glastonbury Abbey was totally destroyed by Henry VIII in his power struggles with the Catholic Church. All traces of King Arthur, his bones, and the cross that marked his grave were apparently lost. By the 20th century, scholars were left with no hard evidence that there ever was a real King Arthur.
There's a lot of skepticism about whether King Arthur really existed or did any of the things ascribed to him.
There is nothing that would confirm the existence of a historical figure called Arthur.
But in 1908, there was one man who firmly believed that King Arthur was real. And not only that, he set out to prove it. The brilliant architect, Frederick Bligh Bond, believed that only he could track down King Arthur's last resting place, somewhere in the shattered ruins of Glastonbury Abbey.
The only way we can actually prove whether King Arthur existed, or indeed disprove it, is by tangible archaeological remains.
If you could find a fragment of Arthur's tomb, then your reputation as an archaeologist would be made.
Bligh Bond convinced the Abbey's owners, the Church of England, to allow him access to Glastonbury. But he would still have to prove his credentials.
I think this was too good an opportunity for him to miss. Here was this almost virgin site, remarkably little work is done on it. He's the man to step forward.
In the early 1900s, the science of archaeology was in its infancy. Bligh Bond would use his architectural skills to make the first systematic search of Glastonbury Abbey. But only a few ruined walls remained. So the first step in Bligh Bond's quest was to fill in the gaps, to make a detailed plan of the Abbey as it once was.
Bond is, in effect, making a map. He actually stayed on site each day. He took measured drawings of what was found. Now this, of course, sounds very, very basic to our ears today, but this was something that most of his contemporaries simply didn't do.
The magnificent Abbey had several major buildings, but if Bligh Bond could map them out, then the historical records gave him a tantalizing clue where Arthur's bones could be found. After finding the grave, the monks had been anxious to display Arthur's remains to important visitors. So they put them in pride of place, at the center of their largest and most important building, the Abbey church.
They were brought out in 1278 to be presented to two very interested visitors indeed, King Edward I and his wife Queen Eleanor of Castile. So they paid for a tomb of black marble to be set out in the middle of the Abbey church.
The story should have led Bligh Bond straight to King Arthur's tomb. But with the entire site in ruins, the location of the Abbey church was far from clear. Bligh Bond's problem was to somehow map out its missing walls, then find the tomb at the centre. And to find the solution, he would rely on his lifelong fascination with mathematics.
His first love really is mathematics, and especially mathematical puzzles, numbers, correspondences.
Bligh Bond believed the builders of Glastonbury Abbey had used a secret mathematical code. His measurements showed that the layout of the abbey followed a deliberate number pattern. It had been handed down by architects since biblical times.
According to his measurements, there seemed to be repeating numbers and patterns which were coming out, and these were more than coincidental, but seemed to be a foundation plan, a foundation geometry.
Bligh Bond knew that ancient builders often used number patterns called magic squares. Every square has 6 rows and 6 columns. But to crack the code, Bligh Bond had to find a way to fill in the rows and columns so that they all added up to the same number. He made hundreds of attempts to find the right pattern, until finally he had the solution. The secret magic number was 111. Bligh Bond was convinced that he knew what it meant. 111 multiplied by 8 makes 888 inches, or 74 feet. He believed he had discovered the secret. The ancient builders had laid out the abbey on a grid of 74-foot squares. He would reveal the abbey's lost buildings one by one. Acting on his instructions, his workers dug a trench, exactly 74 feet long. They immediately hit the foundation stones of an entire chapel that no one else knew was there. It had been missing for nearly 400 years. But Bligh Bond's map had predicted its location. The lost chapel exactly filled the last square of 74 feet.
Bond called it the Lost Chapel because it was the only significant addition to the abbey of which there was no surviving trace. Nothing remained above ground. It was something of a test for Bligh, if you like.
One of England's greatest archaeologists said the lost chapel had never even existed. But Bligh Bond uncovered it within weeks. He had even predicted its eventual size.
Bond hit foundations, followed them to the east and discovered a very large 4-bay building, thus proving one of the leading archaeologists of the day wrong.